In a prepared statement uploaded to the extranet, Tetras separatist Kihilix Tanus demands that the Turian hierarchy recognize the island continent of Eluria as the free and independent state of Partenix, or face further attacks from spacecraft used as weapons. Calling the Vallum Blast merciful, and saying he has ships that could hit with 100 times that force, Tanus boasted that even Palaven itself was not safe. Primarch Idus Valan responded almost instantly, saying, "Justice neither trembles nor runs in the face of evil. We will execute our plans no matter the threat." The extranet reaction has been more biting. Despite the vid being released only hours ago, a game application called Radiatum Response has already gone viral. The app allows players to orient crosshairs on the faces of the Turian separatists in the video and fire excrement, bullets, or pies. Two reporters from the Sirenum Scopuli network have attempted to recreate the scenario necessary to cause another Vallum Blast. Faking their credentials with high-resolution Omnitools, they managed to charter the private vessel MSV Zotera and fly it into orbit. There, a computer expert claims he set its coordinates for the city of Regeris, but was stopped by the ship's hardcoding. FTL plotters are all about safety, and you need a very specific skill set to bypass them, says Cerberus Daily, who handled the piloting. It's like finding a particle physicist who can also build a locomotive. Primarch Idus Varan was asked in press conference today about the incident, and he praised the reporters for their work. He declined to comment on the specific differences between the reporters' tactics, those of Vamira Squaron, and the failed, Earth local date, February 23rd hijacking, now attributed to Facinus, saying, "I'd rather not broadcast an instruction manual on what Facinus has learned." The Vallum Blast has governments re-examining a critical question. Do major metropolitan areas need kinetic barriers? The technology exists. Emitters designed to shield asteroid-prone colonies can be mounted on high-altitude balloons and tuned to allow slow-flying planes and starships in, while shielding cities from ships flying at hyperlethal speeds. Some Turian cities on Palaven have them already. But the cost is substantial. Covering a sprawl such as Earth's Los Angeles could initially run as much as 848 million credits, with an annual cost of 74 million to monitor and maintain the emitters. Less wealthy cities would have to do without, bumping them up on the list of potential targets. Experts say the easiest solution is to upgrade ship VIs so that bypassing the safety protocols is even more difficult. The hype is that anyone with hacking skills can turn a ship into a relativistic weapon, said Tatrian professor of computer science, Arena Hanus. Fortunately, hardcoding prevents this in 99% of cases. Last night, to the relief of many colonists on Tetras, the sun finally set on the Vallum Blast. For the last 2 weeks, suspended dust in the atmosphere promoted the formation of high-altitude ice particles that reflected the sunlight at all hours of the day and night. The result has been the so-called doomsday glow in the sky that was so bright that citizens as far away as Dilix could read a paper book by its light at midnight. Civil authorities repeatedly reassured Tatrians that this was not due to any type of nuclear fallout. Though Tatrians can finally get some sleep without closing their blinds, the effects of the dust will linger. The global atmospheric transparency level has dropped a grade, and this dimming is expected to continue for another month. the Citadel Council announced that it will hold a Galactic Employment Summit in 30, or standard, days' time to seek answers while grappling with a downturn in the galactic job market. This announcement comes just days after figures for planetary unemployment were released. Colonies, as a rule, were havens for job growth, with their median unemployment rate at 4.4%, rather than the 13.1% that Homeworld suffered. Some planetary leaders, such as Palaven's Primarch Anterus, say growing Vorcha populations are inflating these numbers, and the figures are much lower. Others, such as Thessia's matriarch Tiala, point out the opposite. Vorcha are the great undocumented, she says. If all of them were included, we would see the true unemployment figure, which would be staggering to those unused to species-specific variations in the data. Over 60,000 troops from the Tyrian hierarchy arrived in orbit around Tatros today to assist in that planet's struggles against the Facinus separatist group. While the troops are staying in orbit for an additional day before being dropped in the Diluvian wildlands, the hierarchy's General Parthenax was met by Primarch Vallum and General Timus Aurelos at the Vallum spaceport. Hundreds of well-wishers were on hand with homemade signs, salutes, and chants of Parthenax, Parthenax. The 60,000 troops will be joined by an additional 110,000 Tatrian forces traveling by air and sea to the Diluvian border. Meanwhile, Pavan Sahira, provincial rulers of the Diluvian wildlands, states that Facinus has departed from their province, and any attack would be an unprovoked act of aggression from the hierarchy and planetary government. She called on Parthenax to be merciful, and not to taint the talents of our galactic army with the blood of our own kind. Turian Clawball legend Neno Raxirian has joined the hierarchy forces heading to Tatros. The 39-year-old is on the 14th citizenship tier, making him eligible for conscription. Raxirian says he is volunteering. There's a time and a place for Clawball, he says in an interview with GBC News, and there's a time to serve honorably. That he has done. In a brief service stint during his adolescence, he received a citation after his unit came under fire. Is this seeking out past glories? Rayskir Rockets fans know his performance has slipped of late. The team has only 9 wins this season, backed by 7 losses. Raxirian denies the stats have any relation to his decision. I don't think anyone could look at the Vallum Blast and say they don't want to help. For me, funding a charity isn't enough. I want to be there. I want to act now. Reports from Tatros indicate the human crew of the MSV Atlanta have been arrested for spying. The crew, including 5 reporters from the Earth Cable news channel Mirror, was accused of attempting to photograph dead Turians, a misdemeanor in times of peace and a graver offense during wartime. Said Hierarchy Navy spokesman Commander Justinix Silvatus. The charge does not translate well, but their intent was clear. They were using their ship scanners to monitor the battlefield and report on it. We cannot allow this, as it gives away vital intelligence and compromises the memory of the dead. The weekend box office went to comedies and romantic comedies once again this week, as the so-called Tetris effect has spoiled appetites for action fare across Citadel space. Check and Mate, the story of Asari Maiden's tribulations at Earth's World Chess Championship, won the number 1 spot, taking in 2.05 billion credits. Second place was Solarian Family Fair, We Meet Again, Dr. Fear, at 1.6 billion, milking the gag of a captured secret agent with a wrist-mounted time machine that can only take him 15 minutes back. Third went to the badly timed Bullet Train, which eked out 160 million credits, a 40% drop-off from the previous week. Fourth was the disastrous CSAC at 97 million. The action flick's revenue stream came primarily from Tuchanka, where a labeling error miscategorized it as a comedy. Primarch Idus Valen held a press conference today to announce the beginning of the air campaign against the Diluvian government and Facinus separatists. Over 1 week ago, I gave clear and specific demands to produce the leaders of Facinus and renounce separatism, he said. These demands were not met, and the Diluvians will now pay the price. He went on to say that to respect the dead, Tatrian and Hierarchy forces would not allow press cameras or communicators in the battle zone, and would arrest or eject any violators, including those using satellites or starship scanners. The gathered human reporters walked out in protest of this policy, which is considered the right of the deceased Centurion worlds, but is viewed as dictatorial by humans. The astronomical team that launched the TR-15 Letus probe is being blasted by the scientific community for falsifying results about the neutron star Turix. The data they were posting was too good to be true, said Dr. Orana Timelis, who reviewed their work. When they claimed to have sent the probe through the relay leading to Turix, we all wondered how and why the Protheans could have built a corresponding relay so close to such an energetic star. Then came questions about isolating the probe's signals from the radiation, claims of unprecedented dark energy control. I would almost go so far as to use the word hoax. Leadus team lead, Dr. Akhil Karini, apologized for what he called sloppy record-keeping, but insisted his findings were authentic. The galactic community has but scratched the surface of all the functions of mass relays, he said, and my team will continue to try to solve their mysteries. Mass cannons pounded the Diluvian wildlands on Tetris today, devastating the region's urban centers in what colonial forces call the constant lightning offensive. Though no journalists were allowed to photograph or film the area, audio files from eyewitnesses told the story of a brutal bombardment. Early warning radars and other scanners were the first targets, followed by power stations, naval yards, telecommunications nodes, and airfields. There is no word at this time if Diluvian army units have been hit, but anti-air batteries would obviously be among the first targets. Given the tremendous firepower used today, it is likely some were hit. Some reports say that anti-air missiles were launched in the north, bringing down a gunship, but the colonial forces deny it, and the report cannot be confirmed at this time. The colonial forces on Tatras continue to hammer the separatist government of the diluvial wildlands. The constant lightning offensive is flying more than 2,100 attack sorties in a, Earth Standard, 24-hour period, relentlessly striking the Diluvians' command and control centers. Dozens of bridges across the swampy terrain have been destroyed, cutting Diluvian armored and artillery units off from any resupply. Reports of dogfights in the air have been confirmed by colonialist General Partanax, but he claims such engagements should be over shortly. All enemy airfields have been rendered incapable of operation, he said. Diluvian Air Command has been turned into a crater. Any enemy fighters presently in the air were there when the air campaign started, and will not find fuel or rest for their pilots anywhere. As the air campaign rages on Tatras, it is a lonely time to be a peace activist. An HCC news poll found that nearly 93% of respondents of all species said the colonial government had the right to go to war with the Diluvian separatists, and 55% said it would be reasonable for the Turian hierarchy to use weapons of mass destruction in response, despite that action violating Citadel Convention. Still, the Turian embassy on the Citadel is surrounded by protesters who say that the hierarchy is too much. Practically every Turian joins the military, it's mandatory, says protester Sarai Bride of Universe Without War. There's no distinction to them between military and civilian targets. Hospitals, schools, houses of worship, they're all fair game, but they won't let you see it on camera. It's been called the biggest blow to reporting in decades. The Cerberus witch hunt. More than 300 human journalists, editors, technicians, and other media personnel have been fired over the past month, on suspicion of working for the human survivalist group. The discovery of one cell using steganography was a disaster, says former GBC news anchor Young-Sun Baig. We thought if a terrorist cell wanted to send an encoded message across the galaxy, they'd want it in military signals or a galactic news broadcast to guarantee priority messaging in the convoy system. But all the media got for its investigations was paranoia and a lot of good people smeared. Counter-terror expert Louis van Gaal agrees. Cerberus is well financed. They're probably using quantum entanglement communicators and laughing at the rest of us. Emily Wong, who survived a 25-person firing at the Future Content Corporation, had a different take. With all the sudden vacancies, if there weren't Cerberus operatives in the media before, there certainly could be now. Earth's summer movie blockbuster season has fired up, and the downloads are hot. Winning the weekend was the wholesome, dairy-powered superhero Milkshake, who kicked his way up to 4.15 billion creds. A strong showing by the cerebral Dark Goddess netted it 3.87 billion, breaking records for a suspense vid. Third went to big-budget horror Accuse with 3.4 billion. Fourth was the Asari Wood musical comedy romance espionage simulsim biopic Make It Look Real, the Lili Tenigu story, which sang, danced, spied, and smooshed its way to 2.96 billion. Reviews of Make It have been glowing, launching Oscar buzz based on The Sims' elusive YWNBWYTFM factor, extra slang for "you would not believe what's in this movie."